Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's Chris and Susan Beasley. We are your hosts for An Audience With tonight, and we have our great friend and super successful entrepreneur Tom Beal with us tonight, all the way across the pond, not far from where we were in Florida just before Christmas. We've just been chatting privately before we came live, so I know you're going to have some really great value tonight, and you're going to learn a lot. We've the sort of little stories and that you're really going to learn from. We first met Tom back end of 2014. We were at a private mastermind in London, and he was one of the presenters there, and we heard him tell his story and then teach how important it is to tell your story for all entrepreneurs. And I have to say, we were completely blown away with it. I blogged about it, and we had a lot of people wanting to know a little bit more about Tom. So finally, we've managed to persuade him to join us on An Audience With, and we're going to spend about 60 minutes with him, if that's okay with you, Tom. And we're going to pull out all of your backstory and some training to really help everyone. So a very, very big welcome to everybody. If you've got any questions, please put them in the comments below where you're seeing this video. We will attempt to get to them as soon as we can. If we miss any, we'll come back to you at the end of the show and make sure that we answer those. It's really important. We appreciate your time and that you're here to learn tonight. So without further ado, may we introduce Tom Beal, all the way across the pond. Hi, Tom.
Hey, Susan. Hey, Chris. Happy to be here. And for you joining, I'm excited that you chose to be here as well, whether you're live or watching this recorded down the way. But super pumped to share my story, share some insights to help you make this year your best year yet, and plant the seeds for each consecutive year being its next best year yet. So I'm excited to share some great stuff today.
Fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic. So can we start and just ask them if you could just share a little bit of your backstory and how you came to be where you are today, teaching and training all over the world? Because that was, we all come from different backgrounds and we all start for different reasons. So that would be fabulous if you wouldn't mind.
Great. And as the stories unfold and the lessons unfold, I hope you have a pen and paper handy, because I'm going to kick it right off with 3 things that make me unique, make you, Chris and Susan, unique, and make you watching unique. These 3 things I call PEP. PEP, your personality, your experiences, and your perspective. So your personality, your experiences, and your perspective are the reason why the health and nutrition niche can have hundreds, have thousands, tens of thousands of gurus or experts, because they each have their unique personality, experiences, and perspective. So Susan, I'll be happy to share some of mine in a condensed version. So there's obviously much what's led me here to be 43 years old, and I'm just amazed that I'm still alive. I did have a near-death experience and a whole bunch of other fun stuff that we may get into down the road. But to give the condensed version, I was born to teenagers. My mother and father were 17 and 19 when I was born 43 years ago. And through that, being raised by teenagers in essence, and young adults, I grew up around a lot of adversity and a lot of uncertainty. The one thing I did have, looking back, is love, right? So amidst all the chaos, amidst all the adversity, I didn't know any better. That was my little circle. Just like you watching, and you, Chris and Susan, we all had our little growing up experience. And to us, as far as we were concerned, that's how everybody had it. Whether you were dirt poor, in my case, or super wealthy, you didn't know any different. That was just your experience. So for me, I grew up around 4 divorces and 6 marriages between my parents. So with that, there was a lot of diversity, a lot of moving. I went to 9 different schools by 8th grade, was on welfare. And by the time I learned everyone in my class, my new school classroom's name, we would move again. So I made a choice as a youngster to say, aha, I figured this out. I'm not going to remember their names, because by the time I remember everyone's names, we move again. So that was a choice I made as a youngster that will circle back to how some of you watching may have made choices in your childhood that served you then, with the best hypothesis you had then, but underlying many decisions that are being made today that aren't necessarily serving you. So in business, obviously, it's good to remember names. So there was a long period of time I was really wondering, why can't I remember? Why am I having problems or difficulties remembering people's names? And with deep research, I found it was from that decision I made at about 8 years old. So that's the brief story of that. Through that, I was involved in sports. I became pretty good at several sports growing up. I played baseball, I played football, I did track, I did cross country. Wrestling became my favorite sport. So I was a pretty good wrestler in growing up and in high school. And now I also got into bicycle freestyling, so doing tricks on bikes. So with the pegs and the gyros and the brakes and spinning around and doing the fun tricks that you may have seen on TV or the X Games on occasion, that was me back in 1986 to 1989. I went on to become a national bicycle freestyle champion at the age of 15 years old in the expert division, and was doing pretty well in wrestling. Then I went to college, and 3 semesters dropped out of college, made some choices that it just wasn't, I wasn't ready for it. I was 17 years old in college and making poor choices. So dropped out of college, floundered around a bit, and didn't really know where I was going. And by a chance meeting, I ended up joining the Marine Corps, United States Marine Corps, and was the #1 honored man from United States Marine Corps boot camp in 1993. I was in January 93. I graduated out of boot camp on April 2nd of 93 as the honor man. Went on to get 3 meritorious promotions in my 4 years while in the Marine Corps. Was a leader. And then at the end of the 4 years, I decided, you know what, I've been there, done that. It's time for me to go make a difference outside of war and things like that. So got into sales. And in sales, I became /1 in 5 separate sales organizations in corporate America. And my last role as a sales trainer slash manager, I started researching some online people and seeing the success that was happening online, and was intrigued by that. In corporate America, you're stuck in that one room, and it's a very limited situation where I saw people online traveling the world and doing fun things. I said, wow, that's something I would like to do. These people don't look that much smarter than me. Let me see how and what they're doing and see if I might be able to emulate that. So long story short, I transitioned out of corporate America, continued to really quickly. I think I may have set a record, crash and burn really hard. Had to go back to corporate America, like begging back for my job that I had left with the big prosperous vision, and crashed and burned, went back to that job, knowing that it was a temporary situation, knowing that I had bigger things to accomplish down the road. I just hadn't figured it out yet. And then the second time caught a little more traction. And then through leverage and some other strategies that we'll chat about today, was fortunate enough to team up with some great people. And together we went on to produce multiple tens of millions of dollars in results and created a lifestyle that was beyond my dreams growing up as a child, and even beyond my dreams in the corporate world of what was waiting for me outside those walls. So it's been a quite an amazing journey. I am currently living in South Florida. I have a tremendous routine that I've set up for my days and my weeks. Although last year I traveled extensively. So last year I went to 11 different countries, spoke in front of thousands of people throughout the world, and realized a couple things. One, I don't want to travel so much. I like being home. So that was an experiment. I enjoyed it, but I do want to be home more often. So I've changed that model. And now I consult with clients all over the world, help them get from where they are to where they want to be in their health, relationships, and finances. And do speak on stage still, not as much this year as I did last year, but I do presentations like this, and I'm excited to share more steps to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. So that's the brief nutshell of 0 to 43, bringing us right here, right now to where we are.
Sure. 9 minutes.
Perfect, right. That's a quick summary.
I'll tell you there's one thing I am going to say though, Tom. It's just mute you out for a second. If I can do that. Yeah. No, one thing I am going to say, Tom, is that you're a highly competitive guy. From the things that you were just saying that you achieved in, right the way through, and I think that's absolutely amazing. And then, all of a sudden, big change, and you want something different, but like a lot of us, it didn't come easy. And I think that's a big thing. There's a big golden nugget in there for people who are listening to this right now. The things you want are never going to come easy. Even though Tom was very successful at a young age in a lot of sports and then in sales, it wasn't something that he just thought, oh, I'm going to be successful at this. He had to work at it, just as we all work at our business. And, he came across a few challenges that he had to go back to work. when he first started. But you know, the thing is, you never stop, and that's, I think, the important thing. Hang on, I think you need to unmute yourself, Tom.
Perfect. How's that?
Perfect.
All right, great. So you're absolutely right. I mean, here's the bottom line. I was the publisher of the North Carolina home book. I didn't have this plan, but I might have the book here. I don't see it. I published a book in 2005. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I don't know where it is. So, oh, here it is. So I was a publisher of this book in 2001, actually. And in 2001, if we recall, September 11th, 2001 happened when I was halfway through creating this book. And this is a 500-page resource with tabs. You might be able to see the tabs. For anyone looking to build or remodel or decorate their $1 million plus home in Charlotte, Greensboro, or Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina. I quit my 6-figure job in Rochester, New York to move to North Carolina to become the publisher of this, working with a $1 billion publisher of Connors and Reed Elsevier. And I moved in July of 01. And we had a 4-month window to get the book created. And if you do the math, 2 months into that 4 month was September 11th, 2001. So the whole world just came to a screeching halt when I quit everything. And by that time, I actually had just found out that the girlfriend I had in New York told me she was pregnant, and that you know, in essence, like I'd left the house, the first house I just bought in Rochester, New York, left that, rented it, a duplex, to move to North Carolina to do this. So talk about multiple life-changing things happening all at once. Find out my girlfriend's pregnant. The house that I just bought a month ago, I'm moving out of to go take, I'm quitting this 6-figure job to go take this uncertain job in North Carolina in July of 01. And 2 months into it, September 11th hits. So, and this all circles back to, you know, not everything's easy. So the world came crashing down, and I still had to persevere and make this happen. So bottom line, I was in Charlotte, North Carolina when September 11th happened. And I remember distinctly driving down 77 South when I hear the radio saying that a plane had struck the World Trade Center. And I was like, what? That's weird. I lived in New York City. I never saw a plane near the city whatsoever. Like, it's so odd. Then when the second one hit, and this is after the Marine Corps, by the way, so the second one hit, I pulled over, I called my office, I said, go home, we're under attack. And my sister called me, and she was telling me what's happening on the TV while I'm parked on the side of the highway going to my first appointment, who was the interior designer for the NASCAR drivers down in Lake Norman in North Carolina. And I'm sitting there and I'm reflecting. You know, here I'd have the Marine Corps success, I had sales success, and now I'm the publisher of this book. And I'm sitting on the side of the road, and it hit me right then and there. It said, you know what? It's time for you to transition from being the student to answering the question that people have been asking you your entire life. And that question is, how do you do it? Everything you get into very quickly, you go from being new to being at the top in a short amount of time. When I was #1 in those 5 separate sales organizations, generally I set records on how quickly I got into the business to where I was #1. And same thing in the Marine Corps. I never in a million years imagined going into the Marine Corps, but by a chance turn of events, there I was. I knew if nothing changed, I would be in that same predicament of that situation I was probably 20 years later. And I didn't like where I was at that time. So the lesson for you watching and listening to this is, if nothing changes, nothing changes. I'm not saying you have to do something as drastic as quit your job and go to the Marine Corps, or quit your job and move to this new thing and bring the girlfriend who's pregnant and buy another house. I mean, all these new things happening. Oh yeah. So when September 11th happened, September 1st, I just closed on my second house in North Carolina, a brand new house. Had the house that I closed a couple months earlier in Rochester, closed my second house on September 1st. September 11th hits when we hadn't even moved into the house yet. So all this uncertainty. So you have life events, right? So all these life events are happening in that one bottleneck. But on the side of that road, I had that clear thought saying, you know what, it's time for you, Tom, to transition from being the student, the intense student. Like you mentioned, Chris, all that stuff wasn't handed to me. I had to really bust my butt to be the top wrestler, to be the top bicycle freestyler, to be the honor man in the Marine Corps, and to get those meritorious promotions, to get to the #1 position of those sales organizations. It took a lot of studying, a lot of watching videos, a lot of participating in teleseminars at the time, a lot of attending live events. And I was committed to a point where my friends were like, what are you doing? Like, we're going out. What are you doing? I'm home studying. Like, what are you studying for? I'm like, for me, for success. What? You know, that was weird. I was like the weirdo. And you watching this, congratulations, you're a weirdo too. It's awesome to be a weirdo, and no non-weirdos get to this success. So congratulations, we're of the same cut of the cloth. So that's when I decided, you know what, I now saw I needed to answer that question. Why? People have been asking me, how have you been doing it? Everything you've gotten into, you've come in and risen to the top very quickly. So on September 11th, that's what birthed me asking the right questions to get the answers, which came up with my first training that I now still teach, called the Success Magnet System. And I'll go into that today. So here's another note for you. You're going to live the lifestyle that you're living now and going to live based upon the questions you ask yourself. So ask yourself powerful questions. So I asked myself, okay, what is the answer to that question people ask me? How do I get into something very quickly, rise to the top? And my answer was this: it's different. What you did in the Marine Corps was different than what you did in wrestling, and that's different than what you did in bike riding, and that's different than what you did selling copiers, and that's different than what you did selling advertising. So here's another note: if you don't like the answer that you give yourself, ask a better question. So I didn't accept that answer. I said, you know what? That's not acceptable. I need to find an answer to that question. How do you do it? So what are the 5 commonalities? If they were different, what are the 5 commonalities that I did in all the sports, that I did in the Marine Corps, that I did in business to get me from where I was to where I wanted to be? And I came up with 5 simple steps that I saw retracing my history. These 5 steps went in process to get me from where I was to where I want to be. Then I studied successful people, that I admired, and saw they too applied those 5 steps. So I'm going to share these 5 steps with you now, and you'll be able to reflect and see, yes, I applied these 5 steps unknowingly, but the cool part is now that you know them and now that I'll share them with you, you'll be able to proactively get from where you are to where you want to be in your life, in your health, in your relationships, in your finances, following the 5-step success magnet system. So step number 1. Step number 1 is vision. You need super clear vision on what it is that you want to accomplish. Because if it's fuzzy and you don't know what you want, anything will do. So you got to be very clear on what it is that you want. So in bicycle freestyling, I wanted to do those tricks. And I would see someone perform those tricks. I said, that's a trick I want to do. And in the Marine Corps, I saw people marching. I saw people doing drills with their rifles. I saw people doing things. I said, that's what I want to do. And in business, when I came into sales organizations, I said, I want to be that person. I'd identify who's at the top of the chain and say, I want the results they're getting. And then I'd follow these next steps to get those results very quickly. Because when I came in, other people were obviously number 1 because I was brand new, but I said very quickly, I'll be number 1. So here's the second step. So first, you got to be very clear on what your vision is. Second step is belief. You got to have belief on numerous levels. You got to have belief in yourself. You got to have belief in the law of cause and effect. You got to have belief in the fact that if they can do it, chances are pretty good you can do it. Unless you're looking to be an NBA star and you're only 4'11", there's certain limitations that you have to be realistic of. However, in business, you'll understand that most of the people getting those tremendous results are persistent, they're determined, they're consistent, and just willing to do what it takes to make those results occur. Generally, they're not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Not saying, they're not bright, but chances are they're not so much more bright than you that their results would be untouchable by you. They've left a trail of success. Tony Robbins says success leaves clues. So belief in the fact that if they can do it, chances are pretty good you can do it. Belief in yourself, belief in your own previous abilities, and all that fun stuff. So belief, and belief in the law of cause and effect. Belief in the law of sowing and reaping. All right, so the third step is very vital. Third step is identify and align. Identify and align. And what that means is, okay, if I want these types of results, you need to identify who are the people that have attained similar results. And that's why you're here. You saw Chris and Susan share that they're bringing on myself and they bring on other experts. And you've identified, yes, I like what Chris and Susan are doing. I'm gonna align myself with them and participate live in situations like this. I'm gonna see opportunities to go to live events, to meet other people that I can also identify and align with, that they've achieved results that I am seeking to attain. Chances are good they'll be able to share some shortcuts with me that I can now apply and implement to get me from where I am to where I want to be in the most quick and efficient manner. the cool part about this is the day and age that we live in. I mean, we all got the digital devices, you know, the phones, everywhere you go. It's not automobile university like Brian Tracy and Zig Ziglar used to teach, who I've been fortunate. I met Zig several times before he passed. And Brian, I met him a couple times. But it's not automobile university. It's with you at all times. You can continually tap into everything. Libraries. I mean, when I was in high school and college, I had to go to a library to do research. We have it all right here, everything. And on YouTube are thousands and thousands of dollars worth of videos from my heroes that are there waiting for you to tap into, like Jim Rohn, like Og Mandino, like Tony Robbins, like Wayne Dyer, you know, and even myself. All that is there on YouTube waiting for you to explore and find it. So if you transfer a little bit of that time that you spent on TV, et cetera, to researching and studying how to get from where you are to where you want to be, you identify and align with people who can shortcut that journey for you. So that's step number 3. Step number 4 is commitment to action. And this is where the rubber meets the road. Most of you watching this are similar to where I was years ago. I knew what I should and could do, but for some reason I wasn't doing it. Whether that was fear, whether that was fear of success, fear of failure, whether that was just lack of belief, something was preventing me from taking the proper actions. And before you get to the proper actions, you take improper actions. You know, if I want to get to that door, it's better to fall forward than it is to stand still, right? So the step not to take is nothing. Take any step. And I have a saying that you don't, well, it's from one of my first mentors, you don't have to get it right, you just have to get it going. So take a first step. Don't sit there procrastinating. Commitment to action is key. And improper action always trumps proper inaction. That might be a writer downer. Improper action always trumps proper inaction. So commitment to action is super key. We all pretty much know what we should do if we had a goal to get healthy, right? You need to get proper sleep, stay well hydrated, eat reasonably well, and move more. That's it. But it's a multi-billion-dollar business because everyone has their personality, experiences, and perspectives, sharing how they have done it and how you can emulate their success. It's up to you to choose to do the things that you know can get you from where you are to where you want to be in your health, in your relationships, and in your finances. And then the 5th step, and this is a vital step, I call it the secret step. Have fun. Have fun. Life is too short, ladies and gentlemen. Life is too short. I mentioned briefly in my little 9-minute intro that I had a near-death experience, and I did. So back in 1998, actually September 11th, 1998, 3 years before the big towers crashing type of thing, I was in a vehicle that rolled 3 times. I was ejected from the sunroof and laying in this field in upstate New York for dead. And next thing you know, I see someone float. I see someone on the ground, and I'm about 20, 30 feet in the air, and I'm confused, wondering what's going on. I look down and see that it's me. Next thing you know, when I recognize it was me, it's all bright white light around me, and I'm standing there confused, not knowing what's going on. And someone came and put their arm around me, and immediately went from confusion to all is well. There's nothing to worry about. Everything's good. And at the same time, even though it was all white, we turned 180 degrees, and now we're facing these doors that were open, this bright white light coming from it, and we start walking towards the doors. And halfway there, I said, stop. This isn't how it's supposed to end. I know you had more for me to accomplish. Send me back. And at that time, I had been helicopter lifted. So they put the thing down my throat, was breathing for me, and I'd been helicopter lifted. I woke up in intensive care at the University of Rochester Medical Center, and I had what's called severe head trauma, which if you read car crashes, many people die from severe head trauma. And I also had some nerve damage in my leg, which had my leg dragging, called drop foot, for several years after the wreck. Long story short, they kept telling me with my severe head trauma and with my nerve damage, I may never walk or talk properly again. And even though I couldn't talk properly, when they were telling me that, I would just shake my head no. Nope. And they got concerned, and they told my family, look, every time we tell him, we're not trying to crush his dreams, but the reality is we don't know if he'll be able to walk or talk properly again. But every time we tell him that, he just shakes his head no. So by the time I was able to walk with a walker and communicate somewhat effectively, within a week, I signed myself out of the hospital against doctor's orders because I didn't want to be in the situation where they might convince me that I may never walk or talk again. So I learned that afterwards. I got out, and I am walking and talking, but it does give me an excuse to act a little crazy here and there. So I still act crazy and say and do things that I can blame on the car accident, I guess. So it's kind of a cool out. So those are the 5 steps. I'll go back to Chris and Susan and see what type of questions or what type of feedback we have going on right now.
Thanks, Tom. I mean, I've been blown away by your training, because I obviously we've heard this from you in a lot more depth, and I was so hoping that you were going to share that with everyone tonight. And if you hadn't, I was definitely going to ask you, because I can actually remember, and I've just been writing notes. I've actually got it written down from when we did our last training together, because I was really impressed with the simplicity of the things that we make really complicated. And when you break things down into a formula like that, it just makes so much sense. And it's quite funny, because we were last week we were interviewed by Norbert Horowitz. I can never say his name, for his online profits playbook. And we were sharing right at the end. He didn't know about our formula, and he said, what are your 3 things that you can share with everyone that will help them? I said, well, actually, we've got 4 and it's a formula. Can I share it? He said, oh, go on then. So I said, it's BLT plus fries. And he said, I've got to know what that means. So I'm just going to say, because it's very similar to you, and I think it might help our viewers tonight, it's B is for believe in yourself. Believe in your business and believe in your products and services. L is for learn what you need to know at the time you need to know it, but always concentrate on your personal development, because it will be a growing stage for you. T, which is the big one, for take action on what you learn, so that you grow your business and you make more profits. And obviously, if it's in life, that you grow in personally and grow in your life. And the big one was F for fries, which is focus, 100% focus on what it is that you're doing. And we've taught that to thousands upon thousands of people since we came online. But like you, we stepped into this never knowing we were going to end up becoming speakers and trainers. That's not how it all started. I mean, that's for another night, because we could speak on that for hours here. But I think entrepreneurs develop as they go along, and we almost have a duty to share with other people what we learn, because it helps them. Otherwise, you just see people super successful up here, but you don't know that the struggles that they've gone through in that journey and the life experiences they've had, just like you told in your story.
Yeah, I think that also, I mean, it's the world as we know it, let's say the weirdos.
I like that, the weirdos.
We share stuff and we don't mind sharing. And whilst we're competitive, we work alongside each other and realise that working together we can all learn more and do more. Whereas when you're in the corporate world, and I remember it, I've been in the corporate world for years and years and years, everybody's always in competition with each other, or certainly companies to companies, and I think that's just something that gets drilled in your head in corporate life, and you've got to get away from it sometimes.
So I was just checking to make sure we haven't got any questions here. I think they're so enthralled by your teaching and your sharing of information that they're going to wait right to the end, which is what normally happens. But we have, we've got people all over. We've got people from your neck of the woods in Florida. We've got Australia. We've got the UK here. New York. It's just amazing that people want to come together to learn and hear of other people's stories and experiences. So I guess you shared an amazing story there about your near-death experience, and I guess for all of us, something happens in our lives, hopefully not as severe an occurrence as happened to you, but they are things that make your life change and put you in a different direction. For us, and I'd like to share this with everyone here, because they don't often know the story. We came into online business by accident in a way, because we were looking for ways to help our clients increase their business better with online marketing, because they didn't know it, and we needed to stand above our competition and be able to show them something different. But that aside, getting into an online business as our principal business and changing from what we were doing as accountants and management consultants came about because of the crash of 2008. All of our money was invested into, well, our pension pot was invested into property, and we all know what happened to that. It all went that way. And you know, that was the driving force for us. And everybody but everyone is going to have something that is their tipping point, I will say, that makes them want to change and will drive that direction as an entrepreneur. But they've got to have a really strong reason why behind it. Otherwise, it's a road of obstacles, it's a road of failures, and you know, we need to be able to get through those. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about how that side of things, you can help with that.
Absolutely. You hit on some great points, both you, Chris and Susan. I mean, what happens is, from the outside looking in, it appears that everyone has, oh, you know, they're hops, you know, skipping around, la da 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 da, success just is thrown at them. And of course they're successful because they're whomever, right? And that can be easily viewed from the outside, but I've been behind the scenes. I jumped into this. I started studying it in 2001, went full-time and failed dramatically in 2004, sucked up my ego, went back to corporate world, as you heard, and then jumped out in 2005 and got some success. And in getting some success, I teamed up with a lot of the gurus of today. So I was in a mastermind with Mike Filsame, with Andy Jenkins, with some people that aren't even well known anymore, but many are extremely known, like Ryan Dice, with Yannick Silver, with Brendan Burchard, with the big names in the industry. And you know, so for instance, Ryan Dice and Russell Brunson recently put out books in the last couple of years. So the stuff that has been working and what has worked over the years that still is evergreen and will always work is now in book form. It wasn't available back in the day. It used to be a $5,000 or $10,000 investment to learn from these experts. Now they're in book format. Jeff Walker, Product Launch Formula. Jeff was in that mastermind with me as well. But what I love about Ryan Dice's book and Russell Brunson's book in particular is they talk about the struggle. Right, and I'm going to share stuff. I know behind the scenes stories that I would never share publicly with many well-known people, but you know, it's not my business to share, but they shared it in their books. So it's public knowledge. So Ryan Dice, in his book, talked about how he was balled up, and this is someone doing tens of millions of dollars per year, balled up on his living room floor crying, and his wife like, "What are you doing?" You know, and like, it's honey, I just, you know, just too much stress. And you know, he explains it more in the book. But to think that just because you reach a certain level of success, it excludes you from difficulties and challenges and obstacles, that's a fallacy, ladies and gentlemen. If anything, the rap song "More Money, More Problems" is true, because and even Damon John, is he the one on Shark Tank? Has a book coming out called something how being broke is beneficial. That book is coming out soon, and I've listened to some interviews of some friends that have done chats with him. And he says, look, the mistakes I made when I was coming up and didn't have the money, thank God I learned those mistakes when I didn't have money, because if I would have made those mistakes when I had money, they'd have been catastrophe. You know, they'd have been tens of millions of dollars of mistakes. I had to learn my lessons and gradually elevate myself to handle more difficult problems. If you're just thrown, I mean, God forbid the person who wins the $1.3 billion here in the States with the lottery, if that goes to one person, even if it's 10 people and they each get 130 million, how soon will that money be gone? Because when you give someone, and Damon John talks about this too, if you give someone who doesn't have that track record of learning from their mistakes and just give it to them, very soon they're going to not only not have it, they're going to be in huge debt on top of it. You have to learn gradually, step by step. So in my 5-step success magnet system, that's where the 5th step is so key. Don't be the person that says, I'll be happy when I get to this level, when I get that house, when I get that car. Be happy now. Think of the things you have to be grateful for now. And, you know, just the fact that we live in this day and age, the best, in my opinion, of any time in history, where we can communicate worldwide just like we are here, it's unbelievable. And yes, if you're seeking, you will find. It's just, okay, if you haven't found it yet, keep persisting, keep following the 5 steps that I outlined, identifying and aligning, taking the proper actions. And eventually something will click. You know, it's a matter of, I'm looking at a light bulb now, 10,000 wrong wrong attempts, but he didn't give up. He, you know, hey, I knew 999 ways that it wouldn't work, so here's another one, here's another one, here's another one. I would have given up after at least 20, 50, 100, who knows, but he kept going. He was going to find a way. You need to be so committed. And we both have a mutual friend who's worth about over $500 million, Tom Mirza, failed so many times. He's another story, like almost like Edison. Like, you would have think he'd have been like, dude, you just don't have it. Like, you failed so many times. When are you going to give up? Right? But he didn't. And success, you know, Les Brown has a story where, imagine sitting in your house on a Saturday, you're finally relaxing, you're chilling out, and someone's knocking on the door. You're like, oh, I don't feel like getting up. I'm not going to feel like going. So sitting on the couch is success. And you need to be that person at the door that just isn't going away. Like, I know you're in there. Come on, open this door. I know you're in there. And you're sitting there. Success is sitting there like, man, this person just won't leave. They'll go soon. But then they just don't go. Finally, success opens the door like, get in. All right already. Apparently, you're not going to give up. And so many people, if and when you're able to see behind the scenes, that's their story. They just persevered and they persisted so many times, and they went up against so many failures. And you call it hard-headed, call it crazy, they just didn't give up. And in not giving up, they took their lumps. Like, okay, that didn't work, 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 this worked. Here's a story. I have many books from this person. The founder of Agora is running about an $800 million business. And I was at an event right next door to me in Delray Beach, and he's up there speaking. He's like, look, we've produced billions of dollars of revenue, and we have copywriters that we pay millions of dollars to each and every year. But every time we release a new product, we don't know if it's going to work. Even though we've put our best knowledge, our best discernment into it, and all of our best resources, the market tells us if it's going to work or not. And until we put it out there, we don't know. And some of the ones that we had high expectations for, they flop. Other ones were like, yeah, okay, this one might have a chance. It takes off. We don't know until you put it in the marketplace, even after producing billions of dollars in revenues. But you have to just do your best to put a good enough product out there to where you can improve it and modify it and test it. And you're continually testing, and that's it in life. You have to just be willing to step up to the bat. You know, in the United States, we have baseball. And consider someone stepping up to bat at the plate, and you got someone who's trying to strike you out, throwing really fast, small balls at you, and you have to train yourself to swing and hit it. And if you're like, you know what, this isn't for me, you're right, it's not for you. It's that Henry Ford quote, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. But if you're like, oh man, they got me that time, but next time I'm going to get it. And you keep fine-tuning your swing, and you follow the steps that I shared with you, your vision, belief, identify and align, commitment to action, and have fun, I'm going to get a hit. I believe it's possible. I've seen others do it. I'm just going to improve myself. I believe in myself. I believe in the commitment that I have, the dedication. I believe in improving myself. I'm identifying and aligning with getting the right people to help me with my swing, help me understand the psychology behind it, help me understand how and what I need to do to get that hit, follow through, and just receive a whole bunch of pitches and continue to swing. Eventually, you're going to get a hit. And then you get the first one, you're like, whoa, okay, I did it. Now your belief jumps up. You get another hit, you get another hit. Now you just keep improving that. And that's exactly what it is in business. You just have to be willing to step up and swing the bat, step up and put something out there. And now in this online world, it's not like it used to be 20 plus years ago, where you had to invest in an office space. You had to get telephones, you had to get staff, you had to, all these high expenses and overhead. You can be in business right now. You can get an opt-in page and get it up in minutes, and you can start getting traffic to it, where they're going to either say yes or no. Some will, some won't. So what next? But it's up to you to put something up that gives value. And it's all about, in my opinion, giving as much value as possible. Circling back to what Chris said. I forgot the exact statement, but bottom line is, the more you give, the more you get. So you be that person who's putting value out there, and what I call planting seeds of value. I call it PVC, prolific value creation. You're someone who's putting prolific, which means continual value. You're continually putting value out to the marketplaces in the areas that are your sweet spot, that are simple for you to do. Some that's audio, some that's video, some that's articles, some that's Facebook posts, Twitter posts, Instagram, whatever it is for you. You can't do them all, but figure out what your sweet spots are where you can become someone who puts prolific value to the marketplace. And in that, you're going to attract some people. If you do it properly, you know how and where. You identify who is your avatar, who is your persona, meaning who is your ideal client. Where do those people congregate? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Facebook? Is it Twitter? Is it Instagram? And how and what can you put out there as a message that will be attractive to them? So think of like fishing. Where are the ponds that your people congregate, and how can you put a line into the pond that's going to be attractive to them to bite the bait? And as you know, for fishers, I'm not a big fisher person, but not the same bait doesn't catch all types of different fish. Different fish like different bait. So you have to know who your people are, what value means to them, and how you, with your personality, with your experiences, and with your perspective, you can create some value that will be attractive to them to take action, give their name and email in some instances. And now they're on your list. Now you have to craft more value to get them to know, like, and trust you, and give them an offer. The person with the most offers wins. If you don't have anything out there right now where people can go and buy, it'd be foolish for you to be watching your inbox looking for sales to come in, because there's nothing they can buy, right? Similarly, if you're looking to grow your list and you don't have any offers out there where people can enter their name and email for some value, it'd be foolish to be staring at your email inbox waiting for people to join your list. You have to put offers out there, and in offer creation, do your very best. And once again, don't get caught up in the it has to be so amazing and perfect. Don't get into that perfection thing. Keep it as simple as possible. Remember what I said earlier. You don't have to get it right. You just have to get it going. None of my stuff out there is the jazziest and fanciest. I'm not out there convincing people. I've got enough value out there to where when people come into my world, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's Facebook, whether it's anywhere that my value is out there, there's enough where they can get to know, like, and trust me before we ever interact. And by the time we interact, they kind of know who I am. They like me and they trust me, and some love me before we even chat, because all that value that's out there. Roughly 300 videos on YouTube, you know, that can literally help people get from where they are to where they want to be. And I've had people that have watched hours and hours of that before they reach out, and they start bringing up stories and go, oh yeah. And so in the beginning, it's a little freaky. You're like, oh, how do you know that? Because I put it out there, I shared it, you know, so it becomes me. I'm kind of the transparent person. I just share who I am and what I do with people, and it works. That's not for everybody, but you need to find out what works for you, and where can you be that prolific value creator, creating stuff that's extremely valuable based on your personality, your experience, and your perspective to that target market that you're seeking to serve, and putting offers out there to get them on your list, communicate with them, or to offer products and services that can help them get from where they are to where they want to be. So that's the bottom line of the world we live in. And I'll be open to any other questions that you, Chris, and Susan have, or the others listening across the world have today.
Wow, you certainly like to pack in a lot of training. I mean, I never expected as much as this. Thank you so much, Tom. But actually, I'm just going to add to that, because I think it will really help. You talked about putting your value and content into the marketplace for your target market, and I was going to ask you actually what your predictions are for 2016 of what people should be doing. And funnily enough, you've pretty much covered it all, as does Ryan Dice, and I put that on my blog yesterday, in fact, and he talks about, and I think this is really great, I think people will understand this, that everybody, every single one of us has a vault, like a bank vault. And the content that we as marketers and entrepreneurs put out into the world, the internet, the webosphere, or whatever you want to call it, fills each relevant person's vault. And it should be continually filling up and filling up and filling up, so that when you ask for the sale, because you must ask for the sale because that's how you make money, you are drawing on that vault, but you're not depleting it, because you've put so much content out there and are continuing to do so. And I think that was a fantastic metaphor, the way he described that. I think if we all as entrepreneurs look at it like that, and don't go, oh, I've got to write a blog today, oh, I've got to record a video today, or oh, what on earth can I write on my Facebook? Think about something that's, you know, is valuable to your market, and just speak from the heart. Just say it as it is. Don't try and be perfect. Don't try and make some awesome stuff and spend 6 weeks creating it, and then by the time you get to post it, it's the moment's gone and there's no feeling in it. Just do what it is that you want to do and do it now. I mean, we were talking about video, weren't we, with Norbert the other day? And
it's quite strange actually, because I remember when we first came online, we joined a program, and the company had an event just somewhere in South London, and we said, okay, we're going to go to this event. I don't know, there was probably only about 30 people in this room. But we walked into that room and I knew every face, and some of the people I knew quite well, and yet I'd never met any of them. And it was really amazing that when you start having this conversation with people, that you actually realise it's because you watch their videos online and that. And, you know, now having been online 5, nearly 6 years, it's the reverse way round quite often. We go to events and people come up to us and say, oh, hi, Chris, how are you? Or hi, Susan, how are you? And I have to say, I'm sorry, but I don't know who you are. Oh, I've been watching your videos, or I've been on your list for 3 years. Or and it's quite scary, really. But the point is that, you know, this is what it's all about. It's all about putting out the value and sharing information with people. And as you say, you have to have offers, you have to have things that people can buy. And when the time is right for them, they will buy. You know, it's not about us going out there and saying, oh, I've got to get this sale, you must buy this because, and you've got to have this, it's really going to help you. And it's all about just saying, well, here's some information, here's some products that may help you. And quite often we get people come to us, oh, I've been following you for 3 years, and now the time's right, I'm ready to join you. And you go, okay, fine, thank you very much. But there's no more to it than that. And, you know, one thing that I do really share that we share as often as we can, one of our mentors, who happens to be a guy who lives in Dallas, doesn't he?
Yeah.
You'll
know him, Curtis Broom.
Curtis Broom, you may very well know. We met him in London a couple of years ago, and sort of on his way through, we always meet him at the airport if he's flying home. And he said to us, right, you need to be married to the process and divorced from the result. In other words, just keep putting your stuff out there, keep putting your stuff out there, keep putting your stuff out there. And
that's a brilliant point. And I mean, the way I talk about that on stage and with my clients is it's the law of sowing and reaping. You know, farmers know that when you cultivate the field and till it and put the seeds in there and fertilize it and water it and take care of it, you know, God, the universe, takes care of the rest. Jim Rohn jokes about, imagine if we had to worry about that. We'd lose sleep at night. I wonder how am I gonna build a tree from this seed? I don't know. But that's all handled. It's our job to plant the seed, fertilize it, water it, and take care of it. Now, 100% of all the crops planted don't come to fruition. You know, there are storms, there are some things that are surprises. We talked about the crash a few years ago. That was a surprise. You know, didn't help me, didn't help you guys, right? I mean, so you have to, you might want to write this down. You have to improvise, adapt, and overcome. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. So we know what the basics are to plant a seed, to fertilize it, to water. And when you continually do that and you're planting those seeds of value, you can't be worried months later about, is that seed going to grow? I mean, you can't be losing sleep. If you're taking the proper steps, the law of sowing and reaping will produce the proper results. So be detached from the results, be married to the process. And when you are married to that process of sowing the proper seeds, the rest takes care of itself. You may have been at that event where I spoke at a place where the person is a very anal, like, about the numbers, and they're just so focused on the numbers. And I'm like, I pay no attention to the numbers, because the numbers work out. For me, paying attention to the cultivating of the fields and providing that value, I know that the crop is going to be good because of the systems and processes that I have that allow me to be doing what I know is planting those seeds of value to my proper target market, and the crops work out all right. Some people are obsessed with the results. And what happens is that can actually take them away from doing what it takes to cultivate those fields. So the law of sowing and reaping definitely applies to business. And it's up to you to know what are your key steps and systems that you need to put in place so that your fields are properly taken care of, and you're properly providing those seeds of value and getting them to the right people. Because message to market match is key. If you're the best at health in the world, yet you're talking to people that don't care about health, it's a wrong message to market match. You need to make sure that those are meshed together. And when you're doing that and you continually cultivate that field and plant those seeds of value, the results will take care of themselves. So I like that advice, and that's similar to what I teach as well. I like that.
It's quite funny because when Curtis actually told us that, we were sitting having dinner, and I said, "Oh, I've got to write this down." And so obviously he just said, "Oh, here's a napkin here." We had it on the table, so I wrote it on the napkin, and then on the reverse of that, and actually we've got it pinned right in front of us here on the notice board in our office, so I've never forgotten that. He actually drew a mind map of how that works and how the whole process works. So whenever we get stuck, and let's face it, everyone will get stuck at some point when things don't seem to be working out quite the way they expected. Maybe your marketing you've been doing isn't being as fruitful as you would like, going back to seeds and all of that. You have to sort of take yourself back a step and say, right, let's get this all in perspective and let's get back on track again, because obviously you're not doing something quite right. We're all learning all the time. The internet is changing all the time. What's fashionable and what works is changing all the time. And it's very easy to get caught up in all that technicality of it, that you don't actually look at what you are on this earth for and why you are an entrepreneur, and that is to solve people's problems. That's it. You are there to solve people's problems, and you have the business, products, services, whether they're your own or you're an affiliate for somebody else's. You have that armory, you have that stock there to provide to people who have a problem, but you've just got to reach the right people who have the right problem for what it is that you have. You can't just throw this stuff out there and hope that it's for everybody. It's not. Questioning is much, much more important. Having the use of these is far more important than the use of this, and we all forget that too much. But Tom, I know you want. Do you want to just jump in here? I know you're
real quickly. I mean, the funny thing, like a lot of people that follow me, they're like, "Well, you just are so simple," and it's simple after decades of fine tuning who I am. I can be woken up in the middle of the night and get up and, hey, you need to speak on this topic, and I'll speak on that topic because I've trained myself over the years, and that's another thing behind the scenes that you don't see with. I worked side by side with Mike Filsaime. Mike Filsaime was a highly successful car salesperson and a sales manager before he got into the internet. So all those years of learning and studying and fine-tuning his art of sales allowed him to transfer that into copywriting. So everyone has their perspective and experience and personalities that they come from their old world, before their internet experience, that a lot of people just gloss over. So for me, I wanted to be a speaker years ago, so I went to Toastmasters, became a president of a Toastmasters group, went to Business Network International, plugged into that for many years, learned how to present succinctly who I am, what's a great referral for me, and who a good lead would be, and plugged into National Speakers Association, plugged into all of the trainings, that led me to where, yes, I can speak easily now. But for me, that has turned into where if you go to my YouTube channel, search for me on YouTube, hundreds and hundreds of YouTube, all you'll see is, I take my phone, I point it towards me, and I record. I pick a topic. People are like, what's your process? I pick a topic. I want a topic of this. Okay. Do I have any call to action I want at the end? Okay. I flip it on and I do it. One take. I don't do any editing or anything. I upload it to YouTube. Then I have that turned into an audio, and it's put onto my podcast. And my podcast, once again, is simple. And this is me. It's not for everybody. Everyone likes these fancy audios and stuff like that. For me, mine just jumps right in. Hey, this is Tom Beal. Welcome to the Make Today Great podcast episode. Today I'm excited to share with you. Boom, it jumps right in. And for me, it works. What works for you? Don't overcomplicate it. Don't get caught up in the technicalities. Just do it. And guess what? You're going to get better as you go. You're not, whenever anyone starts anything, you're not the best, whether it's riding a bike, whether it's swimming, and whether it's success online. However, you need to start. Zig Ziglar has a quote: 100% of the people who don't take the first step never take a second step. So you got to take the first step, regardless of how good or how not good you may feel you are. But just do it. As you know, Nike said it best: just do it, and you're going to get better over time. But don't let the technological aspect, don't let the, oh man, well, I'm not as good as so and so. The only person you need to judge yourself and improve upon and compete with is the one staring back at you in the mirror. Forget about everyone else. Forget about everyone else's results, who they are, what they are. You don't know the backstory. You don't know the difficulties, the demons they're dealing with, all that. You need to see, I'm going to give my best today. Where am I? Where do I want to go? And put a plan in place today. If nothing else happened, I'm going to do this. This one thing. If I do this one thing, today would be a success for me. And break it down simply. I like to keep it simple. I teach success on a holistic manner. The bottom is health, side is relationships, the other side is finances. Many people think success automatically jump to money. Hey, I've seen huge bank accounts with poor health and poor relationships. They can keep it. Keep that big bank account. I'll keep decent health, decent relationships, and decent bank account. Way over a huge bank account and crappy health and crappy relationships. That's just me personally. So every day I ask myself, what am I going to do to improve my health? My health also has a triangle: mental, physical, emotional. What am I going to do mentally, physically, and emotionally to improve myself today? And I have my routine. I walk to the beach and back every morning. And it's a 2-mile walk there and a 2-mile walk back. I listen to my audios. It's an hour-long walk. And in an hour, I listen to 3x speed on my Audible and or MP3 audios that I have. So in my 1-hour walk, I'm mentally moving stimulating my body from audios, physically moving, embracing the air and all that fun stuff, and emotionally just feeling good. And I get to the beach and I have a little session that I do there. Then I walk back. So 3 hours of audio in 1-hour walk. For relationships, the other part, relationships, yourself, personal and professional. You need to have a great relationship with yourself. Like Bob Proctor in The Secret, you know, I love myself. You got to love yourself. And you need to be your best friend. I beat myself up a lot of times in the past, and still on occasion beat myself up in my head. Anyone else? Yeah. So we need to stop. You know, I wouldn't say the things to my best friend that I'm saying in my mind years ago. You need to become your best friend and recognize chaos happens, stuff happens, mistakes happen. But from that, what am I going to learn and build that best relationship with myself? Then who are your people personally and professionally? Time equals love, right? What type of time are you committing to those people that are your key people? And love and serve them. And then finances. I have another one. Today money, tomorrow money, and contribution. Today money. The bills, if you haven't noticed, they come every 30 days and they're pretty consistent. I don't know about in the UK, but here they come every 30 days, and you got to have the money because they don't want to know what videos you've done and what articles you've written. They want the money, right? So what are you doing to keep your bills paid on a monthly basis? And that's what I call the today money. And I talked about when I got out of corporate America to go live my dream, I crashed and burned hard, I wasn't able to pay those bills. I had to go back to corporate America. So you got to do whatever you got to do to get the today money covered, because in my experience, I haven't always been the most creative when I'm worried about making those today money bills, right? So get the today money handled, however that means for you, using your expertise, using your skills and abilities. Do what you can to get your today money covered. And then the tomorrow money activities are the big wins down the road. Those are the projects, the launches that you have coming up that have potential for big returns. And then contribution ties back to what we talked about earlier. The more you give, the more you get. I don't feel like, I guess when I heard Steve Jobs died, I was like, hey, you know, he did some great stuff. He died with like $6 billion or something ridiculous in the bank. And to me, that's a failure. What could he have done to impact humanity with those $6 billion? That's just my personal opinion, but I don't want to be the richest dead person. You know, I'm going to be more like Andrew Carnegie. I'm going to do my part to earn as much as possible and do my part to help as many people in humanity as possible in my way. You know, and I'm not here to determine what your way is, but tap into the contribution aspect. How can you contribute in your specific way? And it's not just all about money. It's time, energy, resources. So that's a quick nutshell of what I call the Trinity success method. So.
Oh, wow, Tom, that's just fantastic. But, you know, you're right. You've got to have some cause or some reason for doing what you do. For us, it's education for the children in the third world. It's something we've been passionate about since we brought our own children up, who were very privileged and lucky to have the kind of education that we were able to provide them. But So many little kiddies have nothing, absolutely nothing, and they deserve books and drawing materials and crayons and
the basics.
The basics. They don't even have that, and that's what drives us. You know, we have to take care of our own responsibilities first, and I'm glad you said that. We have to pay the bills. We have to do all of those kind of things. We have to provide for our future. That's something that's important for us. We have to have that pension pot, or we won't be able to continue to serve in the way that we are. That's really important.
One thing, I change it from have to I choose to. Like, I get excited, like, I choose to pay these bills, because we can choose not to, but I choose to, because that, you know, I pay the cell phone bill, which here in America keeps going up and up, you know, but I choose because of what that gives me, right? So I try to take power in that. Like, I don't want to say, well, I have to do this, or I've got to do this. I'm going to choose to do this. Everything is a choice. And that brings the circle of empower back to us. Like, everything we do is a choice, even for people that have jobs. Even when I was working in corporate America, I chose to get up that time, drive in the traffic, and go to that work. I could have chosen not to. And after a certain amount of time of me choosing not to, it would have determined, you know, they would have fired me, right? So we all have that choice. With the law of cause and effect going to creep in there, it's up to us to choose and discern what we're going to choose. But that's, for me personally, I like to say I choose to pay all this, and everything is a choice, and every choice has an opportunity cost, which is another key lesson. We don't have time today to get into it, but this is great. I hope that this has been helpful to you, Chris and Susan, to your people, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. I was also excited to hear you guys love education. One of my most favorite videos on YouTube is when I went to Africa with Brian Tracy, CEO, and several other top internet marketers. Eben Pagan's right-hand person was there. That we went to a school opening, that we built a school for these people in Africa, in Uganda, and it's a tearjerker still. So I'm happy to hear you guys are passionate about that as well. So there's a lot of amazing things and ways we can do to help others, and it feels good personally to do that type of stuff as well.
No, you're absolutely right. And choice is perfect. We do choose to do the things we do, and that's something we love. Jeff Walker was someone that we saw his recent video at the school that he built with the help of his students, who all came together, and as a community of entrepreneurs, they took that out into the field, and that's something we want to do as well, and just can't wait for that opportunity. Thank you honestly so much for being with us tonight. We heard a whisper. I don't know if we're allowed to share it. We hear there's a book on the horizon. Can you tell us briefly what it is and when we might be able to get our hands on it?
Sure thing. I actually talked to my publisher right before our chat today, and it is called SOS, Stop Overcomplicating Success. I haven't figured out the subtitle yet, but it's going to be something along the lines of success doesn't have to be so difficult, right? And Jim Rohn has a quote like, it's more difficult to fail than it is to succeed, right? So success is something you attract by the person you become. So in the book, I'm going to share some of the things we chatted about today, the success magnet system, the Trinity success method, but really just keeping it basic. Like, just like we talked about planting seeds, what are the real basics to succeeding in life, and what is success? Everyone has that definition. So I'm going to share how people can stop overcomplicating success, and I'm pretty pumped. We chatted earlier, the date is going to be the end of first quarter. So the end of this first quarter of 2016, it'll be done and out.
We look forward to getting our hands on that copy then. Next time we meet, you've got to sign it for us.
Oh, absolutely. That'd be fantastic. So the very last thing I always like to ask our guests on the show is, do they have a favorite book that they're reading right at this moment? And if they have it to hand, can they show everybody and just give them a little reason why they love that book so much and what they're getting out of it?
I studied Wayne Dyer years ago. He was one of the first people that I got on the Nightingale Conant programs back in 2001. And so I've been a fan of Wayne, but I studied him in 01, 02, 03, and had moved on. And when he passed away, and ironically, he has a place and some family next door in Delray Beach. And I was like, I set an intention, like, man, I'd like to meet Wayne. But then, he recently passed away. So I'm meeting him through his books still, which is, pretty cool nowadays. But this book here in particular is my favorite, and it's called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life by Wayne Dyer. And he spent a whole year writing this, and it's his wisdom from the Tao Te Ching. So the 25-year-old document, which in my opinion is the wisest document on how to live life. So Wayne spent a whole year writing this book. Goes through the 51, I forgot, chapters of the Tao Te Ching, but it's amazing. So I listen to it on audio. I talk about my hour-long walk in the morning. Most of the time I'm listening to this on Audible at 3x speed, and it's phenomenal and a game changer. This is a lot of the internal work of what it means to live in this brief journey we call life. So one of my favorites right now. Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life by Wayne Dyer.
Thank you, Tom. That was amazing. There's been so much feedback here, and if you get a chance afterwards, you should be able to, on the page we gave you the link, you should be able to see what everyone's saying. But the golden nuggets, brilliant. Thank you. I'm sure they'll continue to come in after the show finished. They sometimes go on for days because a lot of people, because of work, they have jobs and they don't get to watch this until the replay, and they have the opportunity to see that for the next 28, 24, 48 hours. So we'll make sure that we do a little resume of the call and just share those points that you made, because I think they're really important. And of course, they're going to go into our book. You are the last of our 6 interviews. It's going to go into the first edition of our book, which is Millionaire Entrepreneur Success Secrets. It's going to be fantastic. It's just something that we want to give back to everybody, and I think it will really and truly help. So the very last thing from you is, where can people find you, and how can they see your videos and your blog and your Facebook, things like that?
Sure. Just a quick Google search for me will bring up all the videos and all that. So Google my name, T-O-M-B-E-A-L. And my podcast is at maketodaygreat.com. I was a big fan of Zig Ziglar way back in the day when I was in corporate sales. So I got to meet him several times before he passed. And he had his thing, See You Over the Top. And long ago, I was like, man, I need some catchy thing. And my catchy thing that I came up with was Make Today Great. So I share tips and strategies on the podcast on how you can make today great, bring your health, relationships, and life and financial life to the next level. So maketodaygreat.com is where you can find me, and or a Google search.
Oh, that's fantastic. Tom, thank you so much for your time today. We do hope we can get you back for a future show, because I know there's tons more that you could share, and we've got a ton more questions as well. So thank you again for a fantastic, wow, 65 minutes, such value. And yeah, thank you everyone else here watching this either live with us. It's been a packed house all over the world tonight, and we know there'll be lots and lots of people watching it after, and we'll send the replay out to everybody. Thank you, Tom. Have an awesome day. I hope the weather clears up in Florida. We're nighttime here. It's still raining. We still have snow promised sometime this week here in the UK. But hopefully you're going to have great weather tomorrow, and you're going to share one of those gorgeous sunrises that you just tease us with every single day on Facebook. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Hope it was valuable. I look forward to hearing some feedback from your people, and just go for your dreams, make it happen. So share with me what touched you during this, and thank you, Chris and Susan, for having me here. It's always a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you and crossing paths again soon.
Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.
Good night.